The spaceship descended slowly toward the alien capital. Captain Alex Mason gazed out of the small viewport, his heart beating faster than usual. He had traveled far from Earth across light years of space to reach this place. It was a palace city unlike any human had ever seen. Towers of crystal shimmered in colors he could not name, and floating lights moved gracefully through the air like living stars. The streets were wide and smooth, filled with beings who looked both beautiful and strange. Some had translucent skin, some had shimmering eyes that seemed to change color, and all moved with a quiet grace that made Alex feel small. He adjusted his uniform and took a deep breath. He was here as a diplomat, representing Earth in what could be a historic meeting. But he also knew that one wrong move, one wrong word, could ruin everything. The aliens, known as the Scifi, had long memories. They did not forgive easily. The palace gates opened and Alex stepped out onto a smooth platform that led to the grand entrance. His footsteps echoed in the vast space and the air shimmered with soft light. Several Scifi guards approached, their expressions unreadable, and escorted him inside. The walls of the palace were high and polished, reflecting the glow of the floating lights. The ceiling arched so far above that it seemed to touch the sky itself. Alex felt a mixture of awe and fear. Finally, he was led to the throne room. It was enormous, more magnificent than anything he had ever imagined. Crystal pillars stretched high and pools of liquid light flowed along the floor. At the far end of the room sat the alien queen, Zara. She was tall and regal, her posture perfect, her eyes glowing faintly with a color that shifted like liquid gold. Around her were courtiers and advisors, each one watching Alex carefully. Their expressions were serious, almost cold, as if they were judging every inch of his being. Alex bowed deeply. "Your Majesty," he said, keeping his voice steady, "I am Captain Alex Mason representing Earth. I am honored to be here." The Queen's eyes studied him for a long moment. There was silence in the room, and even the floating lights seemed to pause. Finally she spoke. Her voice was calm, soft, but it carried power that made Alex feel it in his chest. "Captain Mason," she said, "you have traveled far. Tell me, what do you hope to achieve here?" Alex took another deep breath. "Your Majesty, my hope is simple. I wish to establish peace and understanding between our peoples. I know we are different, but I believe that with respect and dialogue we can find common ground." There was another long silence. Alex could feel the eyes of the entire court on him, judging him. He reminded himself to stay calm. He had been trained for situations like this, but nothing could prepare him for the weight of those glowing golden eyes. "Your words are measured," the Queen said finally. "But words alone do not build trust. Actions do. And your actions have yet to prove your intentions." Alex nodded. "I understand, Your Majesty. I am ready to act, not just speak." The Queen inclined her head slightly, a gesture that seemed both approving and cautious. "Very well. You will remain in the palace while we observe you. Do not mistake this as an easy path. The court will test you in ways you may not expect." As Alex was escorted through the palace, he noticed the courtiers whispering to each other. Their faces were serious, some showing curiosity, others skepticism. Some seemed almost hostile. He realized quickly that the Scifi were proud and intelligent, and they would not be easily impressed. Every gesture, every word, every look would be scrutinized. Alex was taken to his quarters, a spacious room with walls that shifted colors and soft patterns. There were no visible furniture edges. Tables and chairs seemed to float in the room, adjusting automatically to his presence. He placed his belongings down and looked out a large window. Below him, the city sparkled like a galaxy on the ground. He could see strange creatures moving in the streets, all in harmony with one another. Despite the beauty, Alex felt the weight of responsibility pressing on his shoulders. The next day, he was brought to a ceremonial hall. Today, he would meet more members of the court. The hall was filled with strange symbols and glowing markings on the walls. Alex tried to memorize everything, knowing that even small details might matter in the eyes of the Scifi. The courtiers entered one by one. They asked questions about Earth, about humans, about Alex himself. Some questions were simple, like, "What do humans eat?" or "How do humans live?" Others were more challenging. "Why should we trust a species that has caused war across its own world?" One asked. Alex answered each question calmly, carefully. He spoke honestly, acknowledging the mistakes of his people while emphasizing the desire for peace. He showed respect for their culture, even when he did not fully understand it. His calmness and honesty surprised many of the courtiers, who were expecting arrogance or fear. Finally, Queen Zara appeared. She moved with a grace that seemed unreal, and her presence filled the hall. She asked Alex a question that no one else had dared to ask. "Captain Mason, tell me, why should I trust you?" Alex looked directly at her, his heart steady despite the fear in his chest. "Because, Your Majesty, I will not lie, cheat, or harm your people. I am here to understand and to act with respect. I may fail at times, but my intentions will always be true." The room was silent. Even the guards seemed to pause in their movements. Alex did not know if he had succeeded, but he held his position, refusing to show doubt. The Queen's eyes narrowed slightly, and then she did something unexpected. She smiled, a faint, mysterious smile that lit her face in a way that made the room seem warmer. "Perhaps," she said softly, "you are not like the others." Alex bowed. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I will do my best to prove myself worthy of your trust." The Queen watched him for a long moment. In that quiet space, Alex sensed something he could not name. It was not fear, and it was not simple admiration. It was curiosity, and perhaps a beginning of respect. As he was led away, the courtiers whispered among themselves. Many of them had not expected a human to display such calmness, patience, and dignity. Some were skeptical, others intrigued, but one thing was clear. Alex Mason had captured the attention of the entire palace, including the alien queen herself. That night, as Alex lay in his quarters, he looked out at the city below. He knew the days ahead would be difficult. He would face tests, challenges, and perhaps danger. But he also knew that something had shifted in the palace. The Queen Zara had seen him not just as a human, but as an individual. And in this world of judgment, protocol, and tradition, that was no small thing. He closed his eyes and whispered to himself, "I will not fail. I cannot." The first day of contact was over, but the journey had only just begun. Somewhere in the palace, Queen Zara was already thinking about the human who had arrived from the stars, and a faint, unexpected feeling began to stir within her. The next morning, Captain Alex Mason awoke early, still thinking about the alien Queen Zara. Her words from yesterday echoed in his mind. "Perhaps you are not like the others." He could not tell if she meant it as praise, warning, or curiosity, but it stirred a strange sense of purpose in him. Today, he would face more of the palace's trials, and he knew they would be harder than before. As he left his quarters, he noticed the palace corridors were alive with movement. Courtiers, servants, and guards went about their tasks, but each glance toward him carried scrutiny. Alex remembered that the Zarathi did not hide their judgments. They measured every action, every expression. He straightened his uniform, keeping his steps steady and calm. He was escorted to a large chamber, different from the ceremonial hall of the previous day. The walls were covered with floating panels, each displaying images of alien landscapes, stars, and battles. Several courtiers stood along the edges, their arms crossed, their faces unreadable. This, Alex realized, was a test of more than words. A tall Zarathi named Karen, one of the Queen's advisors, stepped forward. "Captain Mason," he said, his voice smooth and commanding, "the Queen wishes to know how you handle the unexpected. You will demonstrate your ability to adapt." Alex nodded. "I am ready, Advisor Karen." The chamber transformed suddenly. Panels shifted, and the floor began to rise and fall like gentle waves. Alex had to adjust his balance quickly. A series of challenges appeared. Puzzles in alien symbols, obstacles to avoid, and tasks requiring careful timing. It was a test of agility, intelligence, and patience. Alex moved carefully. He studied each puzzle, observed patterns, and made calculated decisions. Sometimes he stumbled, but he quickly recovered. The courtiers murmured among themselves, clearly surprised at his speed of learning. Some seemed skeptical, others impressed. Through it all, Zara observed quietly from her elevated seat. She watched the human not only act with intelligence but also remain calm under pressure. She noticed how he did not panic, how he analyzed before acting. No human, she thought, had ever displayed such control in her palace. After hours of challenges, Alex completed the final task. A complex lock opened, revealing a small, glowing crystal. He held it carefully and bowed slightly. "The task is complete, Your Majesty," he said. The room fell silent. Even the air seemed still, as if the palace itself was waiting for the Queen's response. Zara stepped forward, her gaze fixed on him. "Impressive," she said softly. "You adapt quickly, and you remain steady where others would fail." Alex allowed himself a small, respectful bow. "Thank you, Your Majesty." I try to learn from every situation. A few courtiers whispered to each other. One of them, a younger alien named Lyra, stepped forward. Captain Mason, she said, do you understand our culture well enough to survive in our court without causing offense? Alex paused. He had studied the Zarathi culture before arriving, but no book could fully capture the subtlety of their traditions. I may not understand everything yet, he admitted honestly, but I will observe, listen, and act with respect. I will learn. Lyra nodded, her expression showing a hint of approval. Even small acknowledgments mattered in this court, and Alex knew it. Later, as Alex walked through the palace gardens, he reflected on the morning. The gardens were unlike any human landscape. Plants glowed softly, their leaves shimmering with delicate colors, and streams of light flowed like water between the trees. Birds, or creatures resembling birds, floated without wings, their movements elegant and slow. Alex could feel the quiet power of this place, a beauty beyond imagination, yet filled with danger if not respected. Zara appeared beside him silently, her presence almost unnoticed until she spoke. You handle yourself well, she said, her voice calm but carrying weight. I did not expect a human to learn so quickly. Alex looked at her and bowed slightly. I am honored by your words, Your Majesty. I do not wish to disappoint you. She studied him for a long moment, her eyes shifting in color. You do not fear us, yet you respect our ways. That is rare. Most humans are either reckless or submissive. You are neither. Alex smiled faintly. I believe respect is more important than fear. Understanding comes from respect, not intimidation. Zara nodded slowly. Perhaps, and yet understanding is not always enough to survive here. You will face challenges that require more than intelligence and respect. Before Alex could respond, a loud alarm echoed through the palace. Guards ran past, their faces tense. Alex followed them quickly, curious and alert. Zara's eyes narrowed and she moved toward the source of the alarm. In the grand central chamber, a small group of alien visitors had entered unexpectedly. They were from a neighboring planet and were known for their aggressive behavior. They demanded an audience with the Queen immediately, ignoring palace protocol. The courtiers whispered anxiously. This was a situation that could quickly become dangerous. Zara raised her hand, signaling for silence. State your purpose, she said, her voice firm. The alien leader stepped forward, clearly trying to intimidate. We come to demand tribute. Your planet has prospered, and you will pay what is owed. Zara's gaze shifted to Alex. She saw the calm in his eyes, the confidence that did not come from arrogance, but from thought. Without a word, Alex stepped slightly forward. Your Majesty, he said, if I may. Zara inclined her head slightly. Alex continued, addressing the visitors with careful diplomacy. I understand your demands, but threats will not bring a peaceful resolution. Let us discuss a fair agreement that benefits both sides. The alien leader laughed, but Alex remained steady. He spoke clearly, outlining solutions, showing that Earth humans were willing to cooperate without submitting. The room was tense, and for the first time, the courtiers saw the humans' reasoning and courage in action. After several tense minutes, the visitors reluctantly agreed to a compromise. The court murmured in astonishment. Zara's expression softened slightly, and she nodded toward Alex. His actions had not only diffused the tension but had also earned respect in a way words alone never could. Later, in the quiet of her private chambers, Zara reflected on what she had witnessed. She could not deny it. This human had qualities that no alien suitor had ever displayed. Intelligence, patience, courage, and, strangely, a sense of empathy that reached beyond species. She felt an unfamiliar stirring in her chest, a mixture of admiration and curiosity. Alex, meanwhile, sat in his quarters, reviewing the events of the day. Every interaction, every observation, had taught him more about this alien society. He realized that surviving here required more than diplomacy. It required understanding the subtle balance of respect, courage, and cultural nuance. He was determined to prove himself further. That night, as he looked out at the glowing city, he wondered about the Queen who had been observing him so closely. He did not know what her thoughts were, but he sensed that something had shifted. Perhaps, he thought, this mission was no longer just about diplomacy. It was about building trust where it had never existed before. And trust, he knew, could change everything. The day began quietly, almost peacefully. The palace glimmered in the soft light of its floating lanterns, and Alex Mason moved through the halls with careful steps, aware that every action mattered. The courtiers were still talking about the events of yesterday, their whispers blending with the gentle hum of the palace. Some were impressed, some skeptical, but all knew that the human had already changed their perception of what a visitor from another world could achieve. Alex had been summoned to the Central Council chamber, a place larger than any room he had seen so far. The walls were lined with luminous panels showing the stars and planets under the Queen's protection. In the center of the room was a large table, shaped like an elongated oval, floating slightly above the floor. The Queen Zara sat at the head, her presence commanding and serene. "Captain Mason," she said, her voice calm but serious. "Today will test you in ways that words and diplomacy cannot. You will face a challenge that requires quick thinking and courage." Alex nodded, understanding the gravity of her words. "I am ready, Your Majesty," he replied. Before anyone could respond further, alarms blared throughout the palace. The floor trembled lightly under their feet. Outside, the sky darkened unnaturally as enormous ships appeared on the horizon. They moved swiftly, sleek and threatening, their shapes unlike any known alien technology in the palace records. The courtiers murmured nervously, fear flickering in their usually controlled expressions. Zara rose gracefully from her seat, her eyes narrowing. "These ships approach with hostile intent. Captain Mason, we need your help to protect the palace and our people." Alex felt a surge of adrenaline but kept his voice calm. "Guide me, Your Majesty. Tell me what I need to do." The Queen gestured to the maps floating above the table. Holographic projections displayed the palace defenses and the surrounding city. "The invaders aim to strike the core of our city. Our forces are skilled, but they have never faced an enemy like this. You must assist in coordinating the defenses." Alex studied the projections, quickly analyzing the layout. "I can organize the defense lines and coordinate both palace security and our allies. We need to control key points and use the city's structure to our advantage," he said. The Queen looked at him intently. "Do it. You have our trust." Without hesitation, Alex moved among the advisors and guards, issuing calm, precise instructions. He assigned patrols, secured vulnerable entrances, and coordinated aerial defenses. His voice carried authority, yet there was no arrogance, only clarity and purpose. The courtiers watched him in awe. They had not expected a human to manage the crisis so efficiently. Zara followed him closely, observing not just his actions but his demeanor. He was composed under pressure, thinking several steps ahead. Even when a sudden attack occurred on one side of the palace, Alex adapted quickly, redirecting forces and preventing chaos. Minutes felt like hours as the enemy ships approached closer, their energy weapons glowing ominously. Suddenly, a barrage struck the palace walls. Sparks flew and panels of the crystalline structure cracked. Guards shouted warnings and several courtiers flinched in fear. Alex remained steady. "Keep your positions. Follow the plan," he commanded. "Do not panic. The palace is designed to withstand more than this." His words, combined with his calm leadership, inspired confidence. Even the young Lyra, who had doubted him before, felt reassured. The human was not only intelligent and brave, but he had a presence that calmed the nervous and focused the anxious. As the attack intensified, Alex realized that some ships were targeting the city's energy cores, aiming to cripple defenses. He moved quickly, directing a squad of palace engineers to reinforce shields and redirect power. Zara followed, offering insights from her experience but letting Alex lead the operation. Hours passed in a blur of tension and precision. The palace held, the city survived, and the enemy ships began to retreat under the combined efforts of the human-led defense and the Queen's forces. Finally, as the last ship disappeared into the distance, the chamber fell silent. Dust and sparks hung in the air, and the courtiers looked at one another, hardly believing what they had witnessed. Zara approached Alex, her golden eyes reflecting both relief and something deeper. "You have done what no alien has managed before," she said softly. "You saved not just the palace, but the lives of thousands of our people." Alex bowed slightly, his chest still pounding from the adrenaline. "I only followed what I thought would work, Your Majesty. The real credit goes to your forces and your guidance." The Queen shook her head. "No, Captain Mason. Your actions, your thinking, your courage, they made the difference. You faced danger where others might have frozen. You were calm when everyone else was afraid. That is why you succeeded." Alex felt a strange warmth at her words. He had trained for crisis situations, But the stakes here were different. This was not just about strategy or skill. It was about trust, courage, and the willingness to act for others. The courtiers slowly approached, offering nods of respect. Some spoke quietly among themselves, acknowledging that the human had earned a place of honor in their eyes. Even Karen, the strict advisor, gave a subtle nod of approval. Later, in the quiet of the palace gardens, Zara sought Alex privately. The gardens were calm now, illuminated by floating lights and the soft glow of alien plants. Streams of gentle light flowed like water, reflecting in the pools below. "You acted remarkably today," Zara said, her voice almost gentle, a rare softness in her tone. "I have observed many warriors and diplomats, yet none have shown the combination of intelligence, courage, and empathy that you displayed." Alex met her gaze, humbled. "Your Majesty, I only did what I thought was right. I could not fail while so many depended on us." Zara studied him carefully. "It is more than that. You see the value of life and respect the lives of all, not just your own. That is something even our most skilled suitors lack." Alex felt a shiver run down his spine. He realized that her words were not just about strategy or leadership. They were personal. He had earned her respect in a way that went beyond duty, and the thought made his chest tighten. "There is something I must tell you," Zara continued, her voice quiet, almost hesitant. "Humans, they are unpredictable. Yet you are different. I find myself wondering about you, in ways I have never wondered about anyone before." Alex's heart skipped a beat, though he kept his expression calm. "I am honored by your words, Your Majesty. I do not wish to overstep, but I am willing to learn from you and serve in any way I can." Zara nodded slowly, her gaze lingering on him. "Your actions today have changed many things, Captain Mason. I am beginning to see possibilities I never considered." Alex looked out over the glowing gardens, thinking about the day's events. He had faced danger, guided forces, and acted under pressure. But the most unexpected result was the bond forming between him and the Queen. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, yet undeniable. As the night deepened, the palace quieted, but both Alex and Zara knew that the challenges were far from over. The threat might have passed for now, but the palace and the Queen herself had changed forever. And somewhere in that change, a connection was growing between two very different beings, one human and one alien, that could alter the course of their worlds. The palace was quiet the morning after the attack. Alex Mason moved carefully through the halls, aware of how much trust the court and the Queen had begun to place in him. Even though the immediate threat had passed, the air was still thick with tension. The courtiers whispered among themselves, their admiration for the human growing, but so was their curiosity. Many had never seen a human handle danger with such intelligence and calm. Alex was summoned to the Queen's private chambers. As he approached, he could feel the weight of her presence even before he entered. Zara stood by a large window that overlooked the floating city. Her expression was unreadable, as always, yet there was a softness in her golden eyes that had not been there before. "Captain Mason," she began, her voice calm, "you have performed admirably, yet I sense that your mind is restless. Tell me, what do you think of this palace and its people?" Alex took a deep breath. "Your Majesty, this place is more incredible than I imagined. The people are strong, disciplined, and proud. I respect your culture and your way of life. I also feel welcome, though I know I have much to learn." Zara studied him quietly. "You are honest in your words as you were honest in your actions yesterday. Few can navigate the complexities of this palace so naturally. I find myself unsettled by your presence and yet intrigued." Alex felt a strange warmth at her words. He had faced danger and challenges, but hearing such admiration from the Queen herself was unexpected. "Your Majesty, I am honored. I only wish to serve in a way that is helpful and respectful." She turned, walking closer to him. Her movements were graceful, precise, yet something in her posture suggested hesitation. "Captain Mason, I have known many beings in my life. Many have come seeking power or wealth or influence. Few have come simply to do what is right. You are different. You think not only of yourself but of those around you." Alex met her gaze steadily. "I believe that is what makes any society strong, when its people care for each other and act with thought and honor." Zara nodded slowly, almost as if she had not expected him to speak with such clarity. "Your words reflect more than strategy or diplomacy. They reflect empathy," Something rare, even among my own kind. For a moment, silence hung between them. The palace around them seemed to fade, leaving only the two of them in the soft glow of the floating lights. Alex realized that Zara's words were not just about duty or responsibility. They carried something deeper, a personal acknowledgement of his character. I must admit, Zara continued, her voice lower now, that I find myself drawn to you in ways I do not fully understand. You are human, yet you embody qualities that many Zarathi lack. Courage, intelligence, patience, and a sense of fairness. I find these qualities remarkable. Alex felt a shiver run down his spine. He had anticipated challenges and danger, but he had not anticipated this. The Queen's personal attention, her unexpected admiration. Your Majesty, he said carefully, I am honored by your words. I do not wish to overstep, but I care about your people and I wish to earn your trust in every way I can. Zara studied him for a long moment, her golden eyes reflecting both thought and emotion. Trust is one thing, Captain Mason, admiration is another. And what I feel now, it is complicated. My position requires me to think of my people first, yet I cannot ignore the connection I feel with you. Alex remained calm, but inside his heart raced. He understood the weight of her words. A connection with the Queen was unimaginable for any human, yet here it was unfolding slowly, carefully. Your Majesty, I will respect your position and your responsibilities, he said sincerely. But I also hope that in time our connection may grow in a way that honors both your people and our understanding. Zara moved closer, her gaze steady on him. You speak with wisdom beyond your years, Captain Mason. Perhaps that is why I'm unsettled. No human has ever been able to challenge my perspective so completely, to inspire reflection and curiosity at the same time. Alex took a careful step forward, maintaining respect and distance yet showing openness. I only wish to learn, Your Majesty, from you and your people. I want to understand the world you have built here, and to act in ways that benefit it. Zara's expression softened. You speak of understanding and service, yet you do so with humility. That is rare. Many of my own kind would struggle to act without ego or fear. You are unusual, in ways that I cannot fully explain. They walked slowly through the chambers, the air between them quiet but heavy with unspoken thought. Alex realized that this was no longer just about diplomacy or strategy. It was about personal connection, about trust and respect between two very different beings. After a while, they reached a balcony overlooking the floating city. The lights of the palace reflected in Alex's eyes, and he noticed that Zara's expression had softened even further. The events of the previous day, the attack, the defense, the coordination, had shown her not only his skill but his character. And now something deeper was emerging. I must be honest with you, Zara said quietly, her voice almost a whisper. I have never felt this way about anyone, human or alien. Your actions, your words, they stir something within me that I cannot easily set aside. I respect you, yes, but I wonder if it could be more. Alex felt his heart skip a beat. He had not expected the Queen to speak so openly, yet he understood the courage it took for her to admit such feelings. Your Majesty, he said carefully, I care about you and your people. I will act with respect at all times, but I cannot deny that I feel a connection as well, something that grows stronger with each passing moment. Zara turned to face him fully, her golden eyes searching his. Then you understand the risk, she said. Our worlds are different. Our peoples may not accept such a bond easily. Yet, I cannot ignore what I feel. Alex nodded, understanding fully. I understand, Your Majesty, and I am willing to face any challenge to honor both your feelings and your responsibilities. I do not wish to cause harm or fear, only to act with honesty and integrity. The Queen studied him, her gaze intense and thoughtful. After a long moment, she spoke again. Captain Mason, you have proven your courage, your intelligence, and your empathy. You have earned my respect and my attention. I do not know what the future holds, but I am willing to see where this connection leads. Alex felt a deep sense of relief and hope. He had faced danger, tests, and skepticism, yet here he was standing with the Queen, acknowledged not just for his skill, but for his character and heart. Thank you, Your Majesty, he said sincerely. I will do my best to honor your trust always. Zara's expression softened into a faint, almost unspoken smile. That is all I ask for now, Captain Mason. The rest, we shall see with time. As the sun set over the floating city, painting the sky with colors Alex had never seen, he realized that the true challenge was no longer just about survival or diplomacy. It was about trust, understanding, and the delicate growth of a bond that neither human nor alien had ever experienced before. And somewhere deep in the palace, a quiet hope began to grow. An idea that perhaps against all odds, two very different beings could find a connection strong enough to change everything. The palace was alive with quiet anticipation. Word had spread of the human Captain Alex Mason's courage and wisdom during the recent crisis. Courtiers lined the corridors, whispering among themselves. Some were still skeptical, others awed, but all knew that today something extraordinary would happen. Zara had summoned Alex to the Grand Assembly. The largest hall in the palace was filled with nobles, advisors, and guards. The walls shimmered with crystal light, reflecting colors that seemed to change with each movement. Floating lanterns cast a soft glow across the room, illuminating every face in sharp detail. The air was tense, expectant, as if the palace itself was holding its breath. Alex entered carefully, his steps measured and respectful. He had been preparing for this moment, unsure of what to expect. The courtiers' eyes followed him, some curious, others wary. Yet there was no fear in Alex, only focus and calm. He understood the significance of the assembly. This was not just a meeting. It was a moment that could alter the course of history between their peoples. At the far end of the hall, Queen Zara rose from her throne. Her golden eyes shone with authority, grace, and something more. Something personal that Alex could feel even from across the room. The courtiers fell silent as she spoke. Today, she began, her voice steady and clear. We recognize the actions of one who has shown courage, intelligence, and loyalty in a way none have before. Captain Alex Mason has proven himself worthy not only of respect, but of attention and trust. Alex bowed slightly, his expression calm yet aware of the gravity of the moment. The court remained silent, hanging on the Queen's words. Zara continued, her gaze fixed on him. Throughout history, our people have maintained strict traditions. We have never considered a bond such as this between a Zarathi queen and a human. Yet, extraordinary circumstances require extraordinary recognition. The courtiers murmured quietly, glancing at one another. Some faces reflected astonishment, some doubt, but none moved to interrupt. The room seemed to grow heavier with expectation. Alex felt his heart beat faster, but he kept his posture steady. He understood what was coming. The Queen's words would challenge centuries of tradition. Yet he also felt honored, trusted, and recognized. Finally, Zara spoke the words that would echo through the palace forever. Captain Alex Mason, she said, her voice soft yet resonant. I wish you were my mate, human. The assembly fell completely silent. Even the floating lanterns seemed to pause, as if the palace itself were holding its breath. No one had ever imagined that a queen would speak so openly in public, declaring a personal connection to a human. Some courtiers gasped quietly. Others looked at one another in disbelief. Alex remained still, processing the declaration. Respectful and composed, he bowed slightly. Your Majesty, he said carefully, I am honored by your words. I will serve you and your people with loyalty, courage, and integrity. I will honor this bond in every way I can. Zara's eyes softened, reflecting both relief and admiration. She had taken a tremendous risk in speaking openly, challenging tradition and authority. Yet the words were true, and the feelings they expressed were genuine. A low murmur spread through the assembly. Some nobles whispered their doubts, concerned about breaking tradition. Others nodded subtly, impressed by the human's actions and character. Even those who had been skeptical before could not deny the courage it took for both the Queen and the human to stand so openly in front of the court. Zara stepped down from her throne and moved closer to Alex, her posture regal yet gentle. Captain Mason, she said, today is not only about recognition of courage or skill. It is about trust, respect, and connection. You have earned all three, and for that I honor you. Alex felt a swell of emotion, though he maintained his composure. Your Majesty, I will continue to honor your trust. I will stand with you, not just as a representative of Earth, but as someone who cares for your people and your well-being. The courtiers whispered among themselves, their astonishment gradually shifting to acceptance. Many began to understand that this union or bond was not just personal but symbolic. It represented courage, respect, and the breaking of old boundaries for the sake of understanding and unity. Zara looked around the hall, her gaze steady and commanding. "Let this day be remembered," she said, "as the day we recognize that greatness comes in many forms. Even a human, one who stands for courage, empathy, and integrity can earn the respect of our people and the trust of a queen." Some of the older nobles hesitated, but the younger courtiers nodded quietly. Alex's actions, his calmness, and his respect had shown them that greatness was not defined by species or tradition but by character. Zara turned back to Alex, her voice softer now, carrying a tone of personal acknowledgement. "Captain Mason, you have changed my perspective, my people's view, and perhaps even the future of our worlds. You have done this through courage, wisdom, and heart. That is why I say again before all of the court, I wish you were my mate, human." The words hung in the air like a shining crystal. Alex could feel the weight and honor of the moment. He had earned respect not only through action but through the values he upheld: honesty, courage, and empathy. He stepped closer to the queen, bowing with deep respect. "Your Majesty," he said softly, "I will continue to serve you and your people with loyalty and honor. I will strive to be worthy of your trust and your acknowledgement every day." Zara nodded, her eyes glowing faintly. "That is all I ask, Captain Mason. Time will show us the path ahead, but today is a beginning." The assembly remained quiet for a long moment. Then slowly courtiers began to clap, some hesitantly, others with growing confidence. The sound echoed through the vast hall. Guards and nobles alike showed subtle signs of approval. Even those who had doubted Alex's worth could no longer ignore his courage and character. In that moment, something extraordinary had occurred. The bond between human and queen had been acknowledged, and with it, the possibility of unity, understanding, and connection between two very different worlds. Alex had not only earned the queen's trust, but had changed the perception of humans in the eyes of the entire court. As the ceremony ended, Alex and Zara walked together through the palace corridors. Their steps were calm, yet there was a quiet electricity in the air. The connection between them was no longer a private curiosity. It had been recognized openly. And though the future held challenges, both knew that today marked the start of something unprecedented. In the gardens later, under the soft glow of floating lights, Zara finally allowed herself a faint smile. "Captain Mason," she said quietly, "today has changed everything. I do not know what the future will bring, but I am willing to see it with you." Alex looked at her, feeling a mixture of respect, gratitude, and hope. "Your Majesty, I am honored to walk this path with you. Together we can face whatever comes next." The palace, once filled with tension and tradition, now seemed alive with new possibilities. A human had proven his courage, intelligence, and heart, and a queen had dared to acknowledge her feelings, bridging a gap that no one thought could be crossed. As night fell over the glowing city, Alex and Zara stood together, looking out at the vast expanse of stars. For the first time, two very different worlds shared a moment of connection, trust, and hope. An extraordinary beginning that would be remembered for generations to come.